This is the Marxists at the Movies podcast.
Scene opens, white lights dim down low. The cinema whispers where truths can grow. From shadows deep and screens ignite, the proletariat comes alive tonight. Tonight, Marxists at the movies, bright and raw, breaking through the reels to rewrite the law. Workers of the world in every frame, changing the credits, rewriting the name.
Can't stop dancing to that theme song. Welcome, comrades, to Marxists at the Movies, the only podcast where alien plants, drag sea witches, and butch strong women somehow all connect to late-stage capitalism.
And they all slay love. I'm Edward Michael Francis, and so is he.
Hello.
We're both Edward Michael Francis.
Correct.
Thanks to trans magic and a vocoder budget of exactly $0.
Today's episode is a special Pride bonus episode from an article we just dropped on Patreon called Top 11 Disney Flicks That Slay the Rainbow. It's a big, gay deep dive into Disney's most subversively queer and sometimes accidentally radical films.
And yes, that includes mouse detectives, demigods, and enough coded rebellion to make Ted Cruz cry glitter. The author? Oh yeah, also us.
Present.
You're welcome.
We've also got a brand new website live now, and we'll spill all the tea on that too.
Oh, and Myron says hi. That's our cat for the uninitiated. He's NB, anti-capitalist, and allergic to snowflake discourse.
Strap in. It's going to be subtext, spectacle,
Oh yeah.
and sapphic energy for days.
Cue the sparkle sting. Let's get into it.
This episode is based on a new article we just released called Top 11 Disney Flicks That Slay the Rainbow. It's a celebration and a critique of how queer-coded, queer-adjacent, and downright queer Disney films have carved space for 2LGBTQIA+ audiences, often in spite of the company that made them.
Rainbow capitalism's finest.
Right? Disney has a long history of serving vibes through subtext.
Exactly.
Villains with drag energy, protagonists with identity crises, chosen family narratives,
Precisely.
but rarely delivering on the actual representation front.
Naturally.
This article explores the tension between what Disney says it's doing and what queer fans actually see and feel.
Because, sweetie darling, we've been spotting gay breadcrumbs since Snow White.
Some of us have been doing it so long. Let me see. Cher is on her 80th farewell tour, so...
Look, joke all you want, but it could be her 100th farewell tour, and you know we will all shell out $250 to see her from the nosebleeds rolling out in that wheelchair, singing just like Jesse James. Again.
Devastatingly accurate. We're talking about films that gave us something real. Sometimes accidentally, sometimes despite the studio.
Usually.
And every once in a while, on purpose.
Like, once.
The lavenderist corners of Disney's canon, the coded, the campy, the culturally explosive.
And yeah, I cry every time a villain struts out in full eyeshadow. Don't come for me.
We also dig into the historical context of each film. What was happening culturally and politically when these movies were released.
Oh yeah, baby.
Things like the AIDS crisis, the Lavender Scare, DOMA, and the so-called Don't Say Gay era.
Like it's a legend.
All of that informs how we receive these films and what they meant at the time.
And what Disney was too scared to say out loud.
The list counts down from an honorable mention all the way to our top pick, from the most subversively queer,
I like where this is going.
quietly revolutionary, or just gloriously rainbow-infused film Disney's ever put out.
Yay! If you want to read the full article, it's up now at patreon.com/Cinemark March Media. And our new website is live too.
Oh, there's a whole story about that.
Girlfriend, we'll spill all the TLC on that night.
Truly it was.
We'll talk more about that later.
Good.
For now, let's get into the list.
Okay.
Starting with number 11. Our honorable mention is Beauty and the Beast from 2017.
Indeed.
This one got hyped to hell as having Disney's first openly gay character, which, sure, if you count a half-second dance and some thirsty side-eye as liberation...
To be fair, the article notes that LeFou does have a tiny arc.
Itty-bitty.
He starts out blindly devoted to Gaston and ends up slightly more self-aware.
Which is exactly like going from emotionally repressed to slightly less emotionally repressed. Like church librarian to church secretary.
Jezebel, we can see your fingers when you type that newsletter.
But okay, Josh Gad plays him with just enough longing that you can't miss it.
I suppose.
But Disney still blinked and flinched. They hyped it for headlines, then kept it subtle enough to pass international censors.
Well, that strategy definitely worked in Russia,
Oops.
where the film got a 16-plus rating for a single shot.
Wah, wah.
And Malaysia nearly banned it entirely.
So yeah, the moment's barely there. But if you were a queer kid growing up on talking candlesticks and enchanted wardrobes, even crumbs like that matter.
No lies.
It's something. Not everything,
Not much.
but something.
And let's be honest, Cogsworth and Lumiere had old married couple who bicker in the Palm Springs home goods store energy way back in 1991.
This movie came out right as U.S. queer visibility was surging. Gallup clocked 4.5% of adults identifying as LGBTQIA plus that year.
Ooh.
That's up from 3.5% just 5 years earlier.
And Disney was like, time to give LeFou half a second of confused longing
Lady.
and call it a day.
All right, let's talk number 10, The Little Mermaid from 1989. This one's legendary, mostly because of Ursula,
Of course.
who was literally modeled after drag queen Divine and serves absolute villain realitude.
And behind it all, you had Howard Ashman,
Legend.
openly gay,
Hello.
writing lyrics during the height of the AIDS crisis.
Quite right.
He brought Broadway gravitas and queer sensibility to the entire film.
Exactly. Ursula struts, commands, sings, and manipulates gender like she invented it. Poor Unfortunate Souls is pure drag cabaret.
Agreed.
And Ariel's transformation? That body swap reads as a full-on trans allegory.
Wow.
She gives up her voice to live authentically and still gets judged for it. Sound familiar?
It's a metaphor that hits a lot harder when you realize Ashman was dying while giving Disney its renaissance.
The studio never really acknowledged that legacy. They just ran with the success and left the subtext buried under merchandising.
Oh, sure.
But queer fans, we saw it. We felt it. And we still do.
Did. Ariel's release coincided with ACT UP's 1989 protests.
More legends.
Over 1,000 activists storming the NIH, demanding AIDS research funding.
We love that.
The queer subtext wasn't just metaphor. It was backdrop.
Well, Disney served fishy realness. Queer folks were literally fighting for their lives.
From enchanted castles to sea covens. Clearly, we were being called home.
Next up, sleuthing mice, shape-shifting demigods, and the queerest Sherlock you've never seen.
Number 9 on our list is The Great Mouse Detective from 1986, which
Lay it on me.
basically gave us a Sherlock Holmes story for children.
Go on.
With all the homo-tastic vibes you'd expect from Victorian repression and a rat in a waistcoat.
Girl, Radigan was not in the closet. He was in a dungeon ballroom.
Voiced by Vincent Price, no less. That's queer-coded casting before queer-coded was even a phrase.
Is that what they mean by pre-code?
No.
Oh, okay.
Radigan's obsession with Basil, the detective, is theatrical, intimate, and borderline Achillean.
Tell me about it.
It's less foe and more ex-boyfriend energy with access to explosives.
He said, "My dear Basil," like it was both a threat and a marriage proposal.
Meanwhile, Basil and his companion, Dawson,
Right.
live together. They argue like Freddie and Stewart from Vicious, along with the British accents, emotional blackmail, and shocking number of velvet throws. They bandage each other, drink tea, and solve crimes in matching robes.
I've been to cuddle parties with less intimacy.
Released during the Reagan era, with anti-sodomy laws still on the books, the Great Mouse Detective slipped queerness past the gate by getting it in the shadows. But make no mistake, it's there.
Totally.
Radigan, Basil, and Dawson form a simmering pink love triangle.
That's an image.
Equal parts obsession, admiration, and repressed feelings in monogrammed pocket squares.
And honestly, that's more romantic tension than most live-action couples get.
Moving to number 8, Moana from 2016.
Love it.
This one's grounded in Polynesian mythology, but Maui's shape-shifting alone throws gender expectations into chaos.
Morphing King.
Fluidity isn't just implied, it's literally magical.
Lest we forget the hair flip.
Right. His tattoos change with his form, and his identity is tied to rebirth.
Phoenix.
His personality blends traditionally masculine vibrato with bursts of vanity and playfulness. Added Moana. No love interest, no prince.
Right.
And you've got a film that pushes back against Disney's usual romance plot lines.
She said, keep your prince. I've got ancestors to consult.
And the article points out that many Pacific Islander cultures recognize gender beyond the binary.
Yes, they do.
Disney didn't say the quiet part out loud, but it's humming underneath.
Moana came out a year after the 2015 U.S. Transgender Survey showed over 70% of trans folks experienced workplace discrimination.
Wow. So yes, we needed an animated girl boss with a non-romantic arc and a boat full of metaphors.
Audiences didn't need a love story to feel what was happening.
Tell it.
They saw a girl choosing herself.
Exactly.
Choosing freedom. And yeah, a lot of queer folks clocked that for exactly what it was.
Next up, Warriors in Drag, family pressure that could break a mountain, and one very tired house.
Coming in at number 7, Mulan from 1998. Also known as the Gender Euphoria Starter Pack. She chops off her hair, binds her chest, and heads to war in full soldier drag. It's not even subtle.
It's really not.
This movie slashes open the binary with a sword and then sings about
And
it.
Shang was clearly having a bisexual panic in real time.
The man was into Ping before the big reveal.
Hello.
And once he finds out she's a woman, he goes quiet. Of
course.
Processes and then shows up like, hey, want to grab dinner with my deeply confused heart?
One might say it was the Disney equivalent of no homo.
This film landed as China began relaxing the one-child policy and the U.S. was expanding women's roles in the military post-1993. Gender was on blast globally.
And here comes Mulan. Serving cosplay, swordplay,
Quite right.
and dollar play.
Bingo!
$300 million at the box office.
And let's not ignore the camp factor. Mushu, the ancestors, the chaotic gender-fluid ghost chorus, they were doing the most, and it worked. This wasn't just feminist, it was full-on rear entrance rebellion.
Right. Disney kept it framed as empowerment, but we heard the whole soundtrack.
All right, number 6, Encanto from 2021.
I love this one.
This one's all about identity, family pressure, and rejection of norms.
Exactly.
Which means it's basically a queer allegory disguised as a children's musical about generational trauma.
Luisa alone could carry the entire lesbian discourse on her back.
Exactly. Strong, short hair, built like a forklift, and she sings about cracking under expectations. She's a butch dissertation.
And Mirabelle's the outsider in a gifted family. No magic, no boyfriends, just vibes and resilience.
She doesn't fit, and that's the whole point. She breaks cycles, She holds space.
That's it.
She's that queer cousin who figured out how to set boundaries with Abuela and redecorate the whole damn casita.
She makes healing look like a superpower.
Encanto hit during Colombia's 2021 protests for 2LGBTQIA plus rights.
Con mis campas.
Right as Gallup reported 60% of Colombians supported same-sex marriage.
So, when Mirabel healed La Familia y la Casita, it wasn't just magical realism, it was political.
We'll be right back.
Each flickers with a revolutionary beam. The heroes rise from the factory floor, challenging the scripts and demanding more.
Welcome back from what might just be the catchiest theme song in all of podcast land. If your foot's not tapping, check your pulse.
Exactly.
Or your playlist.
Or your taste. I said what I said.
We're picking it back up with number 5 on our list, Peter Pan from 1953. A film that, on the surface, is about flying children and crocodile trauma.
Sure.
But underneath, it's glitter, gender friction, and chaotic energy disguised as fairy dust.
Let's talk about Tinkerbell.
Yes, let's.
She's not sapphic. She's very clearly into Peter.
Right.
But queer folks claimed her anyway.
Yupper.
She's glittery, dramatic, emotionally chaotic, and just unhinged enough to be our unofficial mascot.
A Tumblr post with over 8,000 notes even called her Disney's first lesbian icon.
Dyke on a psych-o?
Exactly. Not because she is one, but because she feels like one.
She's messy, she's reactive, she's serving theater kid rage in a 4-inch radius.
And she doesn't just sparkle.
Oh, no.
She performs. Possessive, furious, fabulous.
Quite right.
She's not a metaphor. She's a mascot.
She's not a princess.
Right. She's a butch femme.
Peter Pan came out the same year the U.S. Senate declared homosexuality a security risk.
Because of course they did.
Lady friend, that McCarthy-era repression was brutal.
Brutal.
But here's the thing. Audiences still caught the glint. All that gender-bending, shadow-chasing, fairy jealousy weirdness.
Hook and Smee, come on.
Even 1950s audiences picked up that purple bat signal through the static.
Neverland thrived.
Correct.
Glittery, unstructured, anti-aging, and flamboyantly other.
Coming in at number 4, repression, snow powers, and the one possible real example of friend zoning that actually worked.
Maybe if it was real. Frozen from 2013 wasn't trying to be queer, but that's exactly what makes it queer. Elsa is isolated, repressed, told to conceal, don't feel.
So true.
And taught to fear her own power.
Let It Go is the gayest power ballad in 4/4 time since Defying Gravity.
Exactly.
And if you know who voiced Elsa, you know.
Right?
And unlike Elphaba, Elsa doesn't want to be loved.
What does she want?
She wants to be left alone, to build an ice palace, wear couture, and feel something.
It's not a love story.
Nope.
It's a self-actualization arc buried under layers of snow and plausible deniability. There's no prince, no kiss, no longing. Just a woman getting loud, cold, and unapologetically powerful.
And Disney knew exactly what they had.
Precisely.
Elsa is a billion-dollar brand built on not saying the word.
But gay audiences filled in the blank.
Did.
Elsa doesn't need a man.
No.
She needs a therapist.
Quite.
And maybe a sword.
Frozen dropped right after DOMA was repealed in 2013.
Bye-bye, DOMA.
Legalizing recognition of same-sex marriage in all 50 U.S. states.
Meanwhile, Elsa's out here building a queer icon resume.
Period.
The first Frozen alone grossed $1.2 billion.
Sheesh. Coming up, our top 3 films, and things are about to get extremely unintentional.
That part.
We're deep in the top picks now, and number 3 is Lilo and Stitch from 2002.
My favorite.
A story about alienation, chosen family, and how one genderless chaos muppet and his overworked sister gave us a masterclass in marginalized survival.
And Pleakley. We cannot forget Pleakley.
Right? Pleakley is a full-blown cross-dressing alien in a wig and heels, and the movie treats him like an equal part of the squad.
Testify.
Lilo doesn't bat an eye.
Nope.
Nani's too busy surviving. Even Jumba's just like, sure, do your thing. It's queerness as fact, not spectacle.
And Stitch himself? entirely outside any norm.
Stitch defies species, language, gender, all of it.
NB icon.
And the core message, Ohana means nobody gets left behind.
I feel that.
You think queer folks didn't glue themselves to that line like it was a life raft?
Especially in a time when chosen family was often the only kind available.
Lilo's weird. Nani's exhausted. Pleakley's fabulous. Stitch is feral.
Quite.
And together, they make something beautiful.
Yes.
It's one of the only Disney films that doesn't force assimilation. It lets its characters stay weird and still gives them love. And the kids who spent their lives feeling like aliens, they saw it. They felt it. It was the first time some of them realized found family didn't have to come with a disguise.
And for a film made in the early 2000s, that's saying a lot.
It is. A 2021 X-Thread dubbed Stitch non-binary royalty.
Appropriate.
But back in 2002, the film hit while Hawaii's same-sex marriage ban was being challenged in court.
Cue found family, surfing aliens, and gender euphoria in a hula skirt.
All right, number 2, The Hunchback of Notre Dame from 1996. I know. It's dark, it's messy, but it's also the queerest metaphor opera Disney ever produced.
Clopin alone earns it a spot on this list.
Clopin is literal carnival chaos in human form.
Exactly.
But the real reason this ranks so high is Quasimodo.
Oh, yeah?
He's hidden away, lied to about his worth, told the outside world will hate him. And he sings out there like a desperate prayer just to exist in daylight.
It's a coming out anthem in a bell tower.
Precisely. And Esmeralda sees him, protects him, and loves him without changing him. That kind of acceptance hits hard for anyone who's ever been told they're too much, too weird, or not worth loving.
And it dropped the same year as Doma.
Which makes Disney's silence all the more deafening. They weren't ready to say the word, but queer audiences heard the music loud and clear.
Quasimodo didn't get the girl, but he got free. He walked away with his dignity, his softness, and no need to explain a thing.
And sometimes that's the queerest ending of them all.
Hear, hear.
No romance, no reward, just freedom and a future that's finally yours.
If you've made it this far and you're screaming, yes, give me more, good news. The full written article is live now on our Patreon at patreon.com/Cinemarchmedia.
That's right, comrades. For just $6 a month, you get early access to all of our articles plus news updates from inside the mouse-shaped machine.
Nice.
And for $10 a month, you unlock podcast episodes early, including this one, plus bonus material we don't post anywhere else.
It's a 2-for-1 deal. You get access to both of our podcasts, Marxists at the Movies and The Marching Revolution.
Come on, 2 radical shows for the price of one? What a bargain. That's cheaper than a churro at Disneyland and 10 times more satisfying.
And of course, Myron, our resident one-cat army, is always supervising. Usually from behind the desk or somewhere inside our Patreon feed.
Yeah, if you hear purring in the bonus content, that's just our producer.
You can also check out our newly launched website at cinemarchmedia.com, where you'll find info about both shows, who we are, and what we're building.
And speaking of, let's get into the cinemarchmedia.com drama.
So we hired someone who shall remain nameless and handed them $200.
Right out of the gate, they throw a major fit because we were using Wix.
Which, turns out, they were kind of right.
Admittedly.
Wix is basically a premium ripoff for people who don't know better, which I didn't. Long story short,
Too late.
After months of chasing them down, they gave us half a site in clashing colors that looked like a bad PTA flyer.
And we ended up building a better one ourselves in a single day. No templates, just spite and HTML rage.
Long story short,
Again, too late.
hush. We paid someone to waste our time, then did it better ourselves in about 6 hours.
Always how it works.
Honestly, maybe we missed our calling.
Maybe. Again, that's patreon.com/Cinemarchmedia to support the work, and cinemarchmedia.com to see what we're up to. Okay, the bills are paid. Back to the fun.
The time has come.
Beep, 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 beep.
It's time to announce the #1 spot on our list of 11 Disney films that slay the rainbow.
Oh my Satan, I'm in suspense.
The #1 spot goes to, drumroll please, Strange World from 2022. It's the only film here that gives us our kind of lead and doesn't hide it, dodge it, or water it down.
And nobody turns into glitter or dies tragically. Imagine.
Ethan Clade is a teenage explorer with a boyfriend. His queerness is simply part of his life.
That's right.
He flirts awkwardly, gets teased by his parents, and saves the world.
Right.
All while being open, out, and completely loved.
Which, let's be real, is a bigger fantasy than the glowing jelly plants.
What makes Strange World so radical isn't just representation, it's ease. The family is supportive. No one questions Ethan. His identity isn't treated as a plot obstacle. It's normal.
For Disney, that's a revolution.
Yep.
Judges say they will accept that answer.
This film followed Florida's Don't Say Gay law in 2022, and Disney's silence lit a firestorm.
It didn't need $1 billion box office.
No.
It needed courage.
Yes.
And it had that.
The article points out that while the film didn't perform well at the box office, its impact was immediate. For once, marginalized kids didn't have to decode the story or squint at subtext.
That part right there.
They just saw themselves. Full stop.
And they didn't even market that. We had to find him.
But that's how it's always been, right?
Ding, ding, ding.
We find each other in the margins, in the shadows.
Always.
And now, finally, in the spotlight.
Top of the list. Deserved.
So, what did we learn today?
That Disney's been flirting with the queer community harder than a twink in a mesh top at Trader Joe's.
That Subtext was the original streaming service for Friends of Dorothy. And for you youngins, that's Dorothy as in Judy, not B. Look it up if you're confused.
And that every villain and eyeliner is just a Sasha velour waiting to be reclaimed.
But seriously, what we really learned is that queerness has always been in these stories.
Always.
Whether hidden, coded, or quietly defiant, LGBTQ+ audiences have always found ways to see themselves in the margins.
And for some of us, that was all we had. I grew up in the aftermath of the AIDS crisis. The entire generation of queer elders before us, gone. There were no big brothers to guide us, just peers figuring it out together with the occasional silver daddy who made it through.
We built our community sideways. We survived on fragments and glimpses, finding meaning in the silence.
It was no picnic.
And now?
Now I get to be the queer elder I never had. That's the magic.
Really is.
That's the inheritance. Not from Disney, but from us.
Ethan, Elsa, Ursula, Louisa, they all reflect parts of us. Our weirdness, our rage, our transformation.
Exactly.
Our joy.
This list wasn't about perfection. It was about resonance, resistance, and visibility that persists, even when the corporation tries to keep it just palatable enough to sell.
But we don't need permission to see ourselves. We never have.
And now we get to be the ones holding the flashlight for the next batch of weird little queers just trying to find their way.
This has been a very special Marxists at the Movies.
Stay loud, stay weird, and this Pride Month, if you feel lost, just follow that sparkle trail.
We'll be there.
Cue that theme song, babies!
Scene opens, white lights dim down low.
Thank you for listening to the Marxists at the Movies podcast. Don't forget to like and comment.